Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. Please forgive my hoarse voice. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of Eretz Yisrael. May Kodesh Baruch Hu protect and grant our soldiers strength and victory. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Pesha Hena Bas Shaul Michal, Baruch Chaim ben Mordechai, Edward ben Ephraim, and Shlomo ben Edward, as well as Yachmiel Daniel ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted and may their memories be a blessing. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of the Refuah Shlema of Shaul ben Edward and Reuven ben Rachaleah. May they have a complete and speedy recovery. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Tsavo, Rediscovering Our Blessings. Our Parsha continues Moshe's final address to the Jewish nation, and he begins by teaching the laws that will apply once they settle in the land of Israel. The Parsha begins with Bikurim, the mitzvah of bringing the first fruit of each year's harvest to the Beis Mikdash. And this mitzvah applies to the Shevas Aminim, to the 7 species, wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates. Each year, farmers from across the land of Israel would travel together to Yerushalayim, and they would sing, they would celebrate, they would play musical instruments along the journey, and upon arriving at the Beis Mikdash, each farmer would present their Bikurim to thank Hashem for everything he has given them. Moshe then commands the Jewish people to erect 2 large stones after entering the land of Israel, and the words of the Torah would be written clearly upon them, and the nations would gather at the mountains of Gerizim and Avel to proclaim blessings and curses. Moshe Rabbeinu describes the tremendous blessings that they will receive for following Hashem's commands. He also warns of the terrible consequences that would be if they abandon Hashem and His Torah. And finally, Moshe Rabbeinu reminds them that the miracles that Hashem performed for them throughout their journey from Egypt has been to tell them that they are Am Segula, they are a treasure nation, and they should act and feel like they are chosen and children of God. However, a question comes to mind. As Moshe Rabbeinu describes the terrible curses that could befall the Jewish people, the Torah gives a very surprising reason. The Pasuk writes, Tachas asher lo avadata es Hashem lekecha b'simcha uvetuv levav miroiv kol. Because you didn't serve Hashem, the Lord your God, with joy and gladness of the heart, has all these curses and terrible tragedies upon us. Heaven forbid. The Pasuk does not say that they, heaven forbid, abandoned God or even stopped performing the mitzvahs. It seems that they were serving Hashem, they were doing His mitzvahs, but not doing so with joy. Why is the lack of joy considered such a serious failure? If a person fulfills Hashem's commands and does everything required of them, why should their emotional state make such an enormous difference between the blessings and, heaven forbid, the opposite? Rabbeinu Bachya, Bachya ben Usher, gives us a simple explanation. And he writes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not only want us to perform His mitzvahs, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to fulfill them with genuine joy, with complete kavanah, with complete intention. In fact, the joy that we experience while performing a mitzvah carries its own significance. The Rabbeinu Bachya explains that a person receives a reward for performing the mitzvah itself. They also receive an additional reward for the joy that accompanies it. And that is why the Torah treats the absence of joy so seriously. The mitzvah may have been fulfilled, but an essential part of serving Hashem with simcha, with joy, is still missing. However, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, of blessed memory, gives us a deeper and more profound explanation. And he writes in his book, Covenant and Conversation, The Pursuit of Joy, that there's an important difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is often personal, and it depends on how we feel about our lives. Simcha, however, comes from recognizing that our blessings come from Hashem and we are sharing them with others. Rabbi Sachs explains that this is why joy is so important and it appears so often throughout Sefer Devarim. Moshe Rabbeinu understood that the Jewish people would eventually experience prosperity and success in the land of Israel. And their greatest danger would not always come from suffering or persecution. Sometimes it would come from becoming comfortable and forgetting who gave them and who gave us everything that we have. When we lose our sense of gratitude, we slowly lose our capacity for joy. Our blessings begin to feel like they are deserved, and we stop appreciating what surrounds us. Joy protects us from this danger by changing the way that we see our lives. It reminds us, says Rabbi Sachs, what has become ordinary today is still a blessing from Hashem. And that is why the absence of joy is such a serious spiritual danger. Joy begins by recognizing that Hashem has already given us everything we need. And when we stop recognizing those blessings, we can slowly lose sight of the one who gave them all. And many times, strengthening our relationship with Hashem begins by seeing our lives with a renewed sense of gratitude. And this is profoundly important in the month of Elul as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, the Day of Judgment. The Alter Rebbe describes Elul as a time when the king comes to the field. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes himself especially accessible, waiting for each of us to approach him. And Elul is certainly a time to reflect on what needs improvement. But it is also a time to recognize how much Hashem has already given us. And as we prepare to crown him as our king once again on Rosh Hashanah, we approach him with haidah, with gratitude for his blessings, for his brachas, and appreciation for his presence in our lives. Rosh Hashanah is not only about asking Hashem for what we need next year, it is also about recognizing everything he has given us already now. And when we approach the King, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with gratitude, with joy, we prepare ourselves to receive his blessings for a healthy, happy, and successful New Year, B'ezrat Hashem. In our daily life, it is imperative to realize that it is so easy to overlook the blessings that we already have. We often focus on what is missing instead of appreciating what God has already given us. Our family, our friends, our health, even another day is never guaranteed. True joy begins when we stop taking these blessings for granted. When we appreciate what we already have, we begin to see our lives differently. And that gratitude brings greater joy, it brings deeper meaning, and a stronger relationship with our Creator, with our Father in heaven. There's a profound quote from the article Pursuit of Joy in Covenant and Conversation by Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory. A people that can know insecurity and still feel joy is one that can never be defeated. Have a great weekend and a good Shabbos and a meaningful Chodesh Elul. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.